Evelyn's not just looking for Clara. She wants to use her as a pawn in a much bigger game. Clara is the sole heir to the Gray family's fortune. Clara's disappearance has something to do with her inheritance, and it might explain why Evelyn will stop at nothing to find her. Olivia swallowed hard. What's the next move? You need to find Clara before Evelyn does. Now, with a clearer understanding of just how dangerous the situation was, Olivia was more determined than ever to solve the case. But one thing was certain. This wasn't just a missing person case anymore. It was a race against time, and Olivia had a feeling that it is going to get very messy. Olivia paced around her apartment office, the neon sign casting a faint pink glow across her cluttered desk. A sense of urgency gripped her, and even though her brain was overloaded with information, one thing was clear. Evelyn Gray was more than just a fake mom. She was running a massive criminal operation, and Clara was at the center of it. The question was, why was the heiress so valuable to her? Just as Olivia sat down to think, her stomach grumbled loudly. "Oh, right, food, the fuel of genius," she muttered, then immediately knocked over her coffee mug while trying to grab a slice of cold pizza from the box next to her desk. The coffee splashed across a pile of notes on Clara's disappearance. Great, I'm ruining my own case. Fantastic. A quick wipe with some napkins and a half-hearted muttering later, Olivia turned her attention to the phone call she'd just received from the police. Clara's inheritance was at the center of Evelyn's shady dealings. Olivia had to find her. But first, she needed more information, and the only place she could get it was from a source less than reliable, Greg. "All right, Olivia," she said aloud, squaring her shoulders in front of the mirror. "You're going to go back to that creepy industrial building, and this time you're going to be smooth, like James Bond smooth. No crashes, no dumpster diving." She paused for dramatic effect. "Who am I kidding? I'm going to knock over another trash can." When Olivia arrived at the building that evening, her plan was straightforward. Get in, find Greg, ask a few questions, and maybe bribe him with her charm and a couple of well-placed compliments about his taste in footwear. Simple, right? She approached the building cautiously, her feet crunching on the gravel. She was sure she'd find a back entrance this time, one that didn't involve brute force or knocking down flower pots. As she rounded the corner, she spotted a large metal door slightly ajar. Perfect. She slid through it, doing her best to make no noise. She stepped lightly, every fiber of her being telling her that she was about to do something very stupid. A sudden creak echoed down the hallway. "Damn it, Olivia," she muttered, her heart racing as she froze in place. For a second, she stood absolutely still, breathing as quietly as possible. Then she heard a voice. "You're not supposed to be here." Olivia spun around and found herself face to face with one of the henchmen she'd seen earlier, a tall man with a scar running down his cheek. He was holding a large crowbar, which, needless to say, did not make Olivia feel comfortable. Her mind scrambled for a plan. "Oh, hey," Olivia said with forced cheer. I was looking for the bathroom. Is it down this way?" She gestured to the hallway, trying to act nonchalant, while mentally crossing her fingers that he wasn't going to bash her in the head with the crowbar. He blinked at her for a second, and Olivia could see his brain processing her very believable lie. "Bathroom?" He scratched his head. Yeah, right down the hall. But you're not supposed to be in here, lady. This is a restricted area." "Oh, I know," she said, nodding vigorously. "I'm totally not supposed to be here. I'm just looking for my friend Greg. You know him, right? Big guy, walks funny, loves pizza?" The man stared at her in silence, clearly unsure whether he was more concerned about Olivia's strange behavior or her complete lack of a believable story. After a few seconds of awkward silence, he spoke. "Greg, he's busy right now. Why don't you just—" He trailed off, seemingly lost for words. Olivia didn't wait for him to finish. "Thanks, I'll just go right ahead then," she said with a grin, darting down the hall before he could ask any more questions. She finally found Greg in a small, dimly lit office tucked at the end of the building. He was hunched over a desk talking to another man who, judging by the way he was waving his arms around, seemed to be involved in a heated discussion about money laundering. Greg looked up, startled, when Olivia burst in. "Olivia, what the hell?" "I need to talk to you, Greg," she said quickly, locking the door behind her. "And I need you to be honest, Greg, about Clara, about Evelyn, everything." He rubbed his temples, clearly exhausted. "Olivia, I'm not getting involved in this mess. It's bigger than you think. You're going to get yourself hurt." Olivia leaned against the desk, trying to appear confident even though her heart was doing somersaults. I'm asking for the truth. Clara isn't just a missing person, is she? Evelyn's using her for something connected to that inheritance, right? Greg's face went pale. Listen, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. When Beatrice died, everything went into trusts and holding companies, locked up until Clara came of age. Evelyn stepped in as guardian, but she could not lay her hands on the inheritance, never legally. Now, that inheritance is coming due. Someone's going to collect. The only question is, who? Evelyn is looking for Clara first to force her to sign the papers, transfers, authorizations, control of the assets. And if that didn't work, Greg swallowed hard, then Clara wouldn't need to sign anything at all. Olivia's stomach churned. She had suspected it, but hearing it confirmed made it all the more real. So what are you saying? She asked, trying to process everything. I'm saying you must find Clara before Evelyn does. Before Olivia could respond, the door burst open. 3 men stepped in, black jackets, no expressions. One of them was holding the same crowbar Olivia had seen earlier that night. Oh, you know these guys, Olivia said. Greg went pale. They don't work for me. The crowbar guy smiled without warmth. Greg, you weren't answering your phone. Olivia didn't wait for the rest of the sentence. She lunged backwards, tripped over a rolling chair, and accidentally slammed her elbow into Greg's desk. His coffee spilled directly onto a stack of papers and onto his phone, which immediately began auto-dialing the last number he'd called. Emergency services. Run! Greg yelled. Olivia ran. By the time the police arrived 10 minutes later, Greg was still alive, very angry, and in handcuffs. He would later tell them everything he knew about Evelyn Gray, partly out of guilt and partly because he was done with men carrying crowbars. The next few minutes were a blur. Olivia ducked, dodged, and somehow managed to knock over a stack of chairs in a way that created just enough of a distraction for her to slip past the men and make a run for it. She darted through the back door of the building, her heart pounding in her chest. As she sprinted into the night, she realized one thing. This case was way bigger than she thought. The stakes had just gotten real.
But one thing was for sure, no matter how many chairs she knocked over, how many flower pots she shattered, Olivia wasn't backing down. Clara needed her, and somehow, despite all the chaos and confusion, Olivia was going to save her. Olivia ran through the rainy streets, her coat flapping behind her like a superhero cape that had no right to be so dramatic. She'd narrowly escaped Greg's building, but the adrenaline pounding in her chest reminded her that she wasn't exactly equipped for a head-on confrontation with organized criminals. She skidded around a corner, slipped on a puddle, and flailed her arms wildly, somehow managing to grab a street lamp for balance. I meant to do that, she muttered to no one in particular. All part of the plan. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She snatched it up, nearly dropping it in the puddle, and saw a text from an unknown number. No silly moves. Bring her to me, or you will be sorry. E. Olivia froze, staring at the screen. Evelyn Gray, of course. If Olivia's luck hadn't been so catastrophically bad, she might have been intimidated, but instead she grinned. Threats? Really? That's the best you've got? She muttered. I've been chased by angry geese. I'm not scared of a lady in sunglasses. The next step was to find Clara. Olivia had an idea, but it involved one of her most brilliant and inevitably disastrous plans yet. Infiltrating the Gray estate disguised as a cleaning lady. She stood outside the mansion, clutching a mop like it was a weapon and wearing a cheap hairnet that itched like crazy. She could see lights on inside, guards pacing the perimeter, and the faint glimmer of gold from the Gray fortune waiting to be discovered. Okay, she whispered to herself, no running into anything, no knocking over priceless vases, just in, find Clara, out. Easy peasy. 3 minutes later, Olivia had tripped over the garden hose and crashed into a decorative fountain. Then she spotted a wrought iron gate and, for lack of a better idea, decided to climb it James Bond style. Olivia was halfway over the gate when she realized 2 important things. 1, the gate was taller than it looked. 2, she was terrible at climbing. She hung there, coat snagged, foot dangling uselessly in the air when a flashlight beam hit her square in the face. "Ma'am," the security guard said slowly, "what are you doing?" Olivia panicked. "I'm new. First day. I was told to, check the vines?" The guard stared at her. She slipped an inch lower. "And I'm very bad at ladders, clearly." The guard sighed deeply, like a man who had already filled out too much paperwork that week. "Get down slowly." She dropped the rest of the way, landed badly, and immediately knocked over a decorative planter. "I swear I'm not breaking in. I clean, sometimes, poorly." The guard looked at her, then at the fallen plant, then back at her. "Service entrance is around back. Don't climb the gate again." "Yes, sir. Gates are not my strength." He walked away, muttering. Olivia waited exactly 30 seconds before circling the property. Sure enough, she spotted a narrow side door, dimly lit, slightly ajar, with laundry carts lined up outside. "Of course," she whispered, "mystery always uses the boring door." She slipped inside. Once inside, Olivia sneaked through the halls and stepped cautiously into the room, her foot landing on a squeaky rug. She gasped and tried to recover, but it was too late. The statue teetered, then toppled off its pedestal and hit the edge of a nearby table, which sent the vase spinning off, slamming into the chandelier's frame. The chandelier swayed dangerously, its crystal prisms rattling. Olivia froze, holding her breath as the chandelier hung precariously, waiting for it to come crashing down. It didn't. Instead, she heard something else, a soft, muffled sobbing, faint but unmistakable, coming from a cramped little closet beneath the stairs, its door barely visible in the shadows. The sound was oddly out of place, cutting through the silence of the now ruined room. Her pulse quickened, and despite her growing panic, her curiosity pulling her forward. She inched toward the closet door, hoping the sobbing wasn't some kind of trick. She threw the door open, carefully this time, and found Clara sitting on the floor, looking terrified but unharmed. "Clara! Hi, I'm Olivia, your very clumsy detective friend," Olivia said, trying to keep her voice calm as she gestured for Clara to follow her. Clara stared. Are you supposed to be here? Who are you?" "Long story, but short version, I'm here to save you. Also, we might set off a few alarms on the way out, minor detail." "I was hiding for weeks, moving around. She said I could sign everything over quietly or—" As they crept toward the exit, Olivia tripped on a rug, sending Clara tumbling into her. They collided with a loud thud, and suddenly lights came on, doors flew open along the corridor. Men in dark coats poured out, shouting and pointing. Evelyn's goons had found them. "Run!" Olivia screamed, grabbing Clara's hand. They bolted down a hallway, dodging security cameras, slipping on marble floors, and at one point sliding down a polished banister like an unplanned roller coaster ride. "Faster! I know a shortcut!" Olivia shouted, pointing to a service elevator. They piled in, pressing buttons blindly. The elevator lurched, groaned, and then stuck. "Oh, groan. Elevators hate me. I've offended elevators in the past, but don't worry, we'll get out. Probably." Clara looked horrified. "You're supposed to be a detective?" "Yes," Olivia said, flashing a grin, "and my specialty is improvisation." Eventually, after what felt like hours of elevator-induced panic, Olivia managed to pry the doors open with a fire extinguisher she found lying around. They scrambled out into a side garden and saw the city skyline twinkling in the distance. "Freedom!" Olivia shouted, flinging her arms into the air. Then she remembered something. We're not exactly safe yet. Evelyn will be, mad. Very, very mad, and probably armed." Before Clara could respond, a black SUV screeched into the garden. Men in suits jumped out, clearly intending to recapture Clara. Olivia's first instinct was, well, to throw herself onto the nearest hedge for cover. She rolled out of the hedge, knocked over a decorative topiary, and landed in front of the SUV with an epic, unintentionally heroic pose. "Step back, villains!" she shouted. The men blinked. They weren't sure whether to laugh or be furious. Olivia used the moment to grab Clara's hand and sprint toward a waiting taxi. As they sped away into the night, Olivia finally allowed herself a moment to breathe. "Okay, Clara, so here's the plan. We lie low, we figure out how to get you into safety, and we survive. And I promise no more tripping, at least for the next 5 minutes." Clara laughed nervously. "You're something else." Olivia grinned. "Thank you. That's the first compliment I've had today that wasn't about my hair disaster or my fashion choices." Little did Olivia know, Evelyn Gray was already planning her next move, and Olivia's clumsy, chaotic heroisms were about to get even messier. The night air was thick with tension as Olivia sat in the back of the taxi with Clara, still trying to catch her breath from their narrow escape. "Okay, we're free. For now. Evelyn doesn't know where we are. We just need to—" A loud bang interrupted her, followed by the unmistakable sound of tires screeching. Olivia whipped her head around. Oh no! The taxi driver slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. A black SUV had pulled up beside them, and before Olivia could even blink, 2 men were already jumping out, guns drawn. "Get down!" Olivia shouted, throwing herself on top of Clara as the SUV's headlights blinded them. The taxi driver floored the gas pedal, but the men jumped into another vehicle and started chasing them, tires screeching as they sped through the narrow streets. Olivia tried to stay calm, even though every nerve in her body was screaming. "Okay, so change of plans. You remember those action movies where the hero shoots out the tires? I'm pretty sure I can do that with like a bag of chips if I really focus. Stay low." Clara's eyes were wide with panic. "You're going to shoot at them with chips?" "Well, no, that's not the plan. The plan is to escape, but my backup plan involves chips, and definitely not getting shot at." "Right," Clara said, weakly, still looking very much like she'd rather be anywhere but here. "Any other genius plans?" Olivia grinned. "Oh, I've got a couple more up my sleeve, but first—" Olivia pulled out her phone, hands shaking slightly, and dialed her contact at the police department. "Yeah, it's me again. So, remember when I said I was going to catch a criminal mastermind? Well, things are a little more immediate now. I'm being chased. You think you can, I don't know, help me out?"